Hi, my name is Skipper, and welcome to my first Hammer tutorials about the creation of entity makers. Basically, the overall is that the entity maker can create a template of any functions as many as you want on the map. The purpose of this, doing so, is that you can create neat effects or create a monster or enemies, characters on your map anywhere, as long as you have a point of where to despawn and how they react. So today I'm going to show you how to assign a point Tesla to a player. So first thing first, we're going to create a player spawn. It's just an empty hammer map, and then once you create a player spawn, we're going to create a trigger box that will assign the entity maker to the player. So I'm going to create a box. That looks good. Alright, we're going to make this trigger multiple, or trigger once, preferred once. Now once that's done, we're going to create another entity somewhere on the map. It doesn't matter where, but we want to make sure that it's visible. So for this, we're going to make an entity maker. Now this is a logic. Basically, all it does in game is that it says, "Hey, I'm going to assign target this template and spawn it wherever the origin is." And so for this, we're going to give it a name. The only value we're really concerned is that the name and the point template to spawn. In cases of some certain entity that you want to assign, you want to make sure to use these post-spawn inherit angles. That'll be useful when your player is moving in a different direction. You want to have a certain entity that's assigned wherever the player is looking at or the direction is set at. So the first thing is, I'm going to give it a name. And then from there, we're going to create another entity. This entity is the point template. This will be important because this template will tell where exactly it spawns. So for example, this player is going to be spawned exactly from his feet, right here. But if you were creating a template to spawn, for example, like info target, then it will spawn exactly where the info target is, and that's important. So now we're going to go back to the template. We're going to give it a name and say template. Oops. Forgot to change the class. So point template. So we gave the name. From here to 16, this is the amount of entity that you can create as a template. So now we're going to create a point Tesla that we're going to assign to player. So we're going to create another entity and make it point Tesla. Be sure to give it a name so that we can trigger to enable on spawn. At this point, I really don't mind changing the setting, but as long as it's displayed, that's all good for me. So we're going to go back to the point template. The first template, I'm going to be adding the Tesla. It does not matter which template you place the entity in. I prefer to keep it as organized, so that way I can make sure all the entity needs to be spawned and which entity not to be spawned. So from here, we're going to go back to the entity maker. And right here at point template to spawn, you're going to add that template you add. And that's all there is to it. Now we're going to add the output commands. So go back to your trigger once. In the output, we're going to add a on start touch. Now for this certain case, we want the entity maker to spawn at the player origin. To do so, we need to assign a target name to the player. So for do that, we need to set a activator with an output command. if it's a target name player. This will automatically assign the player a target name so that we can be able to assign the entity maker to spawn their template. So now we're going to add another output on start touch player maker for spawn at entity origin, and this is going to be the player. Basically what it does is that once this is activated, we're going to tell the entity maker to force spawn the template where the player is. And that'll be useful because if you use force spawn, it's going to spawn where the point template is. I prefer to do a point spawn at entity origin in case it's something like if I have an info target somewhere or another target place, then that'll be very useful. For this one, you have to make sure you add a delay to it because it's been activated at the same time, which caused an error in Hammer, where it's going to say force spawn at any origin, which there's no any entity that's named player until we assign one. So now we're going to add another output command for the point Tesla. However, in this case, the Tesla has not any parent name assigned. This reason alone is because when you compile the map, it's going to try to find another entity around the map and will not find the correct responding entity. So that's why you want to make sure you leave it blank until it's been assigned to do so. So back here, we're going to add another output on start touch player Tesla set parent name player. That way the Tesla is going to be assigned and follow the player wherever it goes. You want to make sure you have a delay after the entity is spawned. Now after that, we're going to add another and final last command. Start touch player Tesla turn on. For this one, you can set it 2 or 3, it does not matter. But you want to make sure it's after it's been spawned at the player. Otherwise, it will be missing the reference. So once you got that done, let's compile the map and see it. Alright, so the map has spawned, and now we can actually see the point Tesla has been assigned to the player. Now let me go to third person. As you can see, it's being followed by the player no matter what. Now there is some cases where you might encounter a problem. This problem might be due to the flags of the hammer, and I'll show you that in a sec. First thing first, I'm going to show you something. If you create a point template that will not appear like point Tesla, there are ways to determine that it'll display or assign to your player. So first thing first is that you're going to enable developer and set that to 2. Once you do that, you're going to go and meshes the name of the template or the entity that you want to display on the game. In this case, I'm going to choose the player Tesla. When you do that, you can actually see a text message there, and that indicates there is a logic that name player Tesla. As you can see, it falls around, and there's no other point Tesla on this map because there's only one created. Now, there may be a problem where you might see other point Tesla spawn multiples of times, or in cases where player Tesla is not being parent to your players, or there's no point Tesla anywhere on your map. Now, I'm going to show you things. Let me get back to Hammer. If you do encounter a problem where you see multiple of them, you want to go back to Entity Maker. In your flag selection, you want to make sure all the flags are off. You do not want any of those things on, unless you want to demonstrate or experiment with them. These are useful if on the rare cases, such as like if the player's is disease or destroy, or if there's a car being blown up, you can actually auto respawn. In some other cases, if for some reason, if one of your script that you create and you have multiple players and have it assigned to a certain entity, this is the case where if one of the entities targets all of the script, in that case you want to make sure you preserve entity names. What it does, it will create a number at the end of the target name for that script. This will apply to all of the class info, the outputs command. However, there is a problem that it will not add a digit at the end of the name if you have something like the add output command, because this is a custom defined command. This is like locked on. Once you add in here, it's not going to change it unless there's another script changing that. So you want to make sure that this is enabled if you're doing multiplayer maps or any kind of special system setup. And then you want to make sure that they all spawn correctly. To do that, so you want to make sure that your delay is correctly organized. And I think that's about it. Thank you, and hopefully you learned some lesson from this tutorial. Be sure to check out the TopHATTwaffle tutorial, because I find that really helpful teaching the players or new user how to get to use the hammer guides. Thank you, and have a good day.